Welcome back to Living Resonance. I'm Monifa, and today we're exploring the cosmic current of the Gene Keys and lunar cycle. So you can cultivate your voice, live your genius, and weave your legacy in harmony with the current frequencies. We're currently in the lunar phase of the new moon in Leo, which is the Gene Key 31 Pacific timing and then 56 in the Eastern timing. So what this made me do is really think about, you know, how long the moon is in a gate or key. And it is about 11 hours. And I was like, oh man, I'm leaving out half the world. Half the world isn't getting anything. And then, really, there's a third that's happening that I'm missing out on as well. And it's just always, well, it's not, I should also tell you, well, I gotta double check on that because what I know is yeah, there's like 20, like you go through all 64 gates in 29 days, right? So there's about two per day, a little bit over, right? So, anyways, I've been thinking, oh, should I do both? And I'm probably not gonna do both. I know they're good, probably not doing that, but I'll probably do. But I'll probably do like a little piece of the second one because it's also what is coming. Because after the East Coast comes the West Coast, right? So, and it also it's relevant. It's always relevant because they're experiencing the energy we're about to experience. So that 56, the shadow is distraction, and the gift is enrichment. So it's really like, have you noticed any distraction lately? Any distracting things or coming in from the East Coast? Okay. I'm just I'm always fascinated by how much we can always perceive these things in what's going on. But the reality is like everything is always at play. These keys are pervasive throughout the personalities about humanity all the time. So we are never removed from these things. And that's why it makes sense to study them. It makes sense to study them because they're just patterns of being human. And you're going to come across it or you're going to be it. And so, why not know? It's the same reason why you would want to know about a little bit of psychology, I learned a little bit of neuroscience about how do you learn more about your customer and their tendencies and how their emotions will drive them and what patterns they may be experiencing. I think all of us want to know how to be in better relationship with each other. At some point, you have somebody that you love or want to be connected to that you want a better relationship with. And I feel like these things help us understand that when we see the worst in somebody and the best in somebody, the worst is available and vice versa. And then we just have to start paying attention, even in ourselves, when we are heading to that worst side, and then see, oh, I have a choice here. And that's what I love about the Gene Keys because it's telling us what side we're on. And if until like, do you want to go on to the gift side? Would you like to move over here? It's so lovely here where we get to experience joy and love and connection, you know. And so that opens the possibility of understanding the more we are exploring this work. So in Gratis of Mercury retrograde, this is the third time that I'm recording this transit. So if I'm a little punchy, please forgive me. So the 31, which is what we're going to focus mainly on in this recording, in this transit, is the shadow of arrogance, the gift of leadership, and the city of humility. And the genius here is of leading by example. So being a leader, a guide, a teacher, what does that look like in real life? Now, the quantum human design aspect from Karen Curry Parker, she has her own wording for the human design. And in that gate 31, it is called leader as well. Yay, we have one that matches completely. No new information. I'm kidding. But the what I pulled from her is that her challenge interpretation from her work. And there it talks about how it's challenging to learn to lead as a representative of the people you want to lead, because you have to represent the way that you would like them to be in the community or into the project or the whatever you're leading. And the challenge is to build a leadership of service so that you're not just leading out of your what you're getting out of it. You're leading out of what can serve people at the highest level. It's the challenge is to not let your fear of not being seen, heard, or accepted get in the way of a healthy leadership style. So basically saying that you don't let those insecurities make you feel like you have to, lie, do things that are not of your character, be inauthentic. So that is a challenge because a lot of times we show up and we want people to see us as a leader. So we perform leadership, and it doesn't work that way, right? We want these honest relationships and this true connection with people, but we are performing our leadership, right? And what's the difference? And I think this is really going to get us into the nuance when we get into the gene key part. But there's one last takeaway I want you to have from this challenge portion of Karen's definition, which is it's challenging to learn to take your rightful place as a leader and not hide out, because that's the easier option, right? Like I don't have to, well, if I don't put myself in the place where I'm in charge or responsible, or people can say contradictory things to me, then I'll never have to have that experience. But we are here to share our power. We're here to serve. So, and that's how we move and groove in these economic frameworks as well. As we give a little, we get a little. We give a little, get a little. That's how it works. So, in the shadow of arrogance and the gene keys, we're learning, oh, this is the dark side of leadership, right? If we're not meeting those challenges, it can look like being arrogant, right? And truly, what he's speaking about here is the framework, the evolution of how we got to arrogance, which is by believing that we aren't nature itself, that we are above it, that because we think and talk, yeah. And so, well, we're not actually nature; we're just alongside it, right? But that's not the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is that the words are nothing. The thing is the thing. The words are the nothing. So if we want this as an example, like a tree, there's a tree outside, and I can see it through my window, barely. It's getting dark. But there's a tree. Now, that doesn't mean anything. Like, well, what do you mean, Manifa? I know what a tree is. Well, yes, you do. But do you know if it's a young tree or an old tree? Do you know if it's short or tall? Do you know the shape of the leaves? Are they shiny? Are they hairy? Those little furry leaves. Right? What kind of tree is it? We don't know. And we assume that we know because we know what tree means. So that's the arrogance. That's the arrogance. The arrogance of us thinking we're above nature is because we can think, because we can reason, then of course we are in charge. But we all know that if a bear comes out at us, we're not in charge. Right? If there's a hurricane and we're out in the middle of the street, then we're not in charge, right? Like if we're there's so many places that we're not in charge, right? There's nothing that our intellect's going to do to save us in the reality of the power of nature. And ultimately, you had the example of this during, the epidemic, which is essentially, nature. So getting over ourselves a little bit in this context of because we know something, we know it, right? All right. And the programming partner here is this 41, which is the shadow of fantasy. And it's essentially that shadow is about that only the thing is only happening in our dreams. So it's part of that last part of that challenging aspect that Karen's talking about, never taking your rightful place, never actually acting leadership, never actually doing anything with the power you have to dispense. so that you can share with others, right? On the repressive side, this looks like deferring. So this is false humility and deferring our power to others because we're afraid people will see us as arrogant if we try to act like we are a leader, right? So sometimes we use words like guide and teacher because we're trying to not be responsible or a target, right? There's a good aspect to that. As a guide or a teacher, you're just there, teachers learn. Like that's the fun part of being a teacher. And if you know that, then you know that it's not really about being leader or being above somebody. It's about what do I have to offer that you don't know yet, right? And or what have I experienced? How can I guide you through something that you have not yet experienced? And leadership is how do I speak you into the new possibility? How do I help you see the vision of what is next or what can be next? That's the leader, right? So if you remember last month, we had 21, which had the gift of authority. And that authority was about being present. It was the superpower of like what the smell, sense of being able to smell when somebody's in integrity and when they're not. And in the full moon, Capricorn, at the beginning of July, we had 54, which was the shadow of greed. So this is about manipulating others. So think about that, well, in the reactive side, right? So those are two things you can check out. Those are not too far down the list. There's 21 is from last month, so it's maybe 3 videos ago, and then this one it was just the last video in the transit series. So here we have scornful, the reactive nature of this frequency in the shadow, which is when I'm feeling the frequency, I'm going to react in this way. Believes this scornful nature believes itself better because it sees through the words of the manipulation of others. And so when we think back on that 54 greed, where in order to get everything they want because they're afraid that they're not going to get what they want or what they need, but it's gone past that. They just want more, right? So they're just like if they can't get it, they're going to manipulate or they're going to be angry um, and do something about it. And scorn is a bit angry. It's got that edge to it, right? So I'm just putting these together because they're in the same month, right? So that full moon, whatever released of what we think we have to manipulate to be out of integrity for in order to get what we need to survive. Like if that's coming up for you, then this is about initiating a way of being a leader, of moving forward your will and your intention without being manipulative or um, abusive, right? The 21 you have to remember is that feeling, that power without love. Authority is a will exerted with love, right? It's just the presence of the truth of the will. Okay, which is what power is, by the way. Power is just the exertion of the will to get our needs met and to get the needs met of others. Okay. So the interesting part about this is that the if you go to the website and you look at this up on the Gene Keys website, it's gonna tell you that these two shadow frequencies are the title above it is called Victim of the Need to Be Heard. So y'all know I love you, right? You know I love you. I know I've gone through similar struggles and I'm still going through my struggles. Right? And I know the challenges of not feeling seen and heard. I know them intimately. And I think one of the biggest things that has changed me recently is that I'm no longer afraid of not being heard. I'm not afraid of being heard, which I was before, because again, I didn't want people's scorn. I didn't want this reaction from people who thought they could do it better than I could, right? Like, I'm sure you can, whatever, like at this point, that's my reaction. At this point, I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. At that point, I wanted people to think I was the best or the only or the most unique one or the best one of the uniqueness, right? Like I wanted all the differentiating things, right? Of that. And that is partially what draws me to leadership. I want that recognition. But now that it's in my awareness and my final and most prominent intention is to do things in love and to be of service and to remind myself of that and check myself as needed because we can't always be perfect all the time. I'm not, I'm okay. I'm okay with getting it wrong. I'm okay with getting it right. Right. And that's what allows me the freedom to show up at the level that I can now. So that's what we're looking for in the gift here leadership. And the title of this chapter, I love the title of this chapter, is Sounding Your Truth. And the title of the section of gift is Heart Branding. So think about that because I know a lot of you are doing branding things online, on social media, on your websites, and um, on your vision. So even communities need a logo, right? They need something to be like, oh yes, we are this, right? So think about this as I go through this quote. This is the gift of influence. The reluctant leader does not buy their own propaganda. They help others break out of their own matrix that you were once caught in as a leader. And that matrix is the codependent and victim patterns. So essentially buys people back their power. It empowers them. And so that they can move into the new possibility or empowers them to even see the possibility to begin with, because that's another version of leadership. You see a possibility that others aren't seeing yet. Okay. At the shadow frequency, that becomes the voice of our fear. This is a continued quote. Whereas at the gift level, they become the voice of our creativity as well as the messengers of our future evolution. So it's a little skippiness here. Moving on to the 31st gift naturally has an affinity with the future and is always expressing the cutting edge of consciousness and form. So yeah, so it's building on this understanding because the programming partner is 41. And the programming partner, oops, did I say that already? The programming partner is 41. Oh, the programming partner, the shadow is fantasy. Can you imagine fantasy as a shadow? Why? Because it never moves into the action. We talked about that. We did talk about it. I don't know. This is the third time I could have talked about it in another video. So when that gift that the fantasy moves into is that it's able to tell the future, the truth of the future. So it's actually a forecast, right? But it's only a forecast if you start to build it. And what a lot of people that live in that shadow of fantasy is that they never get started, they never show up. Show up, remember, is part of the 21. You have to be in the room. And again, that 21 was from the last month. You have to be in the room. You have to show up. And the room can look like a Zoom room. It can be a Zoom room. It can. But you just got to show up, right? And then this one is coming in hot, right? It's coming in hot. It's like, what? You want like so 54 the full moon in 54. It's like what? You're aspiring to greatness. You want great things. You want beautiful things, material things, beautiful experiences that cost money. We want all these things that you can see, have, show. Well, then you got to drop the arrogance, right? You got to drop the manipulation. You got to drop the I'm going to do it from behind the scenes only. I mean, leadership can be done from behind the scenes. Women do it all the time, you know. Like we have bad practice at that, and it's not that you can't lead from behind the scenes. It's just that you still have to show up. It's just where you're showing up that creates the impact, right? So fun fact. Okay. So yeah, one of the things we have to realize is that real leaders are going to understand that we're trapped by our own programming, our thinking that becomes limited from what we think we know or what we were taught before or what we perceived out of a previous experience, and how much that is limiting what our possibilities are now and how it can be different if we can see things differently. And so they use words to paint that. And that in itself, again, is an arrogance, a manipulation of the truth behind those words. And in the gift, that's a good thing, right? In the gift, that brings us into more possibility and more potential and more realized potential. So it's not just a dream, it's actually realized and created in the world. And so that is part of the work. One more quote. Words that are not rooted in a profound sense of wonder are always at some level arrogant. So that arrogant part is that we are not recognizing there's something behind it. There's a truer truth that is not yet spoken. It's the power of a poet, man. It's the power of the Gene Keys, the writer, the Richard Rudd, and the writer of Quantum Human Design. Like she's a writer and written way many, like so many books, and she's also a publisher. So edited so many books, right? So she knows the power behind the words very clearly. That's why I love working with her work as well, because we're not getting just that kind of this spitballed energy transference that the original Ra'uru kind of gave through human design, which is it's great. It's here. So yay leader, right? But we could see how the arrogant component might have interfered with a few things there. But that's just the way it kind of flows sometimes, right? So in this new moon in Leo, I want us to be reminded of true humility, which in that city is humility, and that is the really that we are all. We're just all nature. We're all nature. We are only as here as long as we're given the right by nature to be here, you know, and everything else is spirit. And that is the higher service. That is the higher thing. That's why you can just be present. You can also just be present. That's the best thing about kids. Like all you have to do is be present, and that's still the truth of goodness for them. And as adults, it just takes more. We got to talk. We got to sound intellectuals. We got to get references. You know, takes all that, right? Okay, so what I want you to pull from Karen Curry Parker as well is an affirmation, because I want you to see if you can work with me here. If you've done Oman's work, get this in your system, align to your system, because I believe pretty much anybody who's done the Oman's work has this potential and desire within them is to be a leader. And you already are. We all are, just in different shapes and forms. So the affirmation is, I am a natural born leader. I serve at my highest potential when I am empowering others by giving them a voice and then serving their needs. I use my power to lead people to a greater expansion of who they are and to support them in increasing their abundance, sustainability, and peace. Hot, right? It's hot. Tell me that like you don't understand words. Okay. Okay, she understands words. Okay. So like, you know, put that in your little heart space, write it down. I think they do the trans. Oh, maybe you have to pay for the people. Well, mm, 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 mm. Yeah, I'm not gonna put her quote in the thing. I'm gonna leave that to you all. Okay. All right. So yeah. So what I want you to do with this, my peeps out here living their best life out loud with that vocal legacy, doing their thing, getting that power into service. I want you to contemplate your brand. Contemplate it. Contemplation is the practice of the gene keys. It's the somatic practice of the gene keys. Um, now, I have my doubts that contemplation is a somatic process. I have to tell you the truth about this. That's why I use my practice as the embodiment piece of the gene keys, which is what I call alchemy. It's not the only thing. There's other things. There's components of cycle creation and all that. That's also what's at the alchemizing piece of vocal alchemy. But this is kind of the secret sauce, so to speak, so we can have an intimate experience of our humanity and what it realized in our experience and what we're making out of that experience for the service of others, right? So sit down in contemplation, contemplate this idea. This is about your brand. What's the art that tells you the truth or the heart behind your message? So this is, oh, it's art, it's like beauty, it's pictures, it's color, it's sound. So your voice itself is art. That's what I know. You can cultivate it or you can not, right? But it is part of it because people aren't just hearing your words. That's the arrogance. So you think you can get the right words and then people will understand. But it's also how we feel. It's how we communicate those words through the vibration that's behind them. That helps. That's the difference between just reading it on the page and voicing it out loud. And there's a physicalization, there's a materialization that happens in that first step of transference from what is unseen, unheard into a vibrational felt thing. So getting a little into the weeds here because that's what I think we do not understand the power of voice matched with our intention and our awareness. And it's my mission, y'all. What can I say? It comes up for me. Okay. So I do want to remind you that there is the freebie that's going to be in the description below. You can also check out the Gene Keys through my referral code, but the download is Cosmic Creatrix Manifesto. So that's a document that's reasserting our truth that we are creatrixes, that we're out here creating some stuff, and that we understand that there's components that are in service of that, and that we're allowing the power and the support of the energies of our environment, the stars, the earth, to be a part of what we create so that we can create things that are in sync with each other, with the earth, with the potential of existence. Okay. So if you want to check that out, you can just click the link, or, I guess you have to copy paste the link in YouTube. You have to copy paste the link and go to the link. And that's free. So have fun with that. If you have any questions or comments, please do tell me how this went for you. What did you realize about how you show up as a leader that you didn't know before? Are you going to sit down and contemplate your brand? Are you going to use this powerful supportive energy to realize that not the one word, not the couple words, not the 20 words that you're going to say about yourself have to embody all of who you are and all of your purpose and all of the vision? Nothing can do that. The words them alone won't do that. So how can you let art continue to tell a story? Like how can you let colors, maybe music, pictures, so many ways to create art nowadays on Canva, Canva and all the things. So yeah, how can you let it be more of that for you? Okay. And remember, we're not here to react to the stars. We're here to weave their frequency, wisdom into our leadership. for creativity and our lives. So breathe it in, sound it out. Really nice vibrato-y one today. And live it forward. All right, y'all. I will see you on the next living resonance. That's all.